Hi, friends. I'm Zach.
I'm Mitch.
And we are an excellent little podcast.
Presenting you a little movie podcast starring Zach and Mitch.
Wait, we're doing a podcast? Mitch, you can't look at me. This is an audio.
For those of you at home, I just gave him the Batman stare.
Ooh, wait. Are we about to review The Batman?
We are about to review The Batman.
I hope you're not hearing this in the shadows, because this is going to get dark.
You just turned off the lights.
What? No. Let's keep these lights on. Let's make sure that we are, buckled in, because this is going to be a lengthy review, my friends. We are going to dive deep into this.
Man, oh man. Oh man. This movie was... I really can't put into words how this movie was.
Well, before we get into it, we will say, so our director for The Batman is Matt Reeves, and our screenplay is a collaboration between Matt Reeves and Peter Craig.
A short little summary on this movie is that when the Riddler, a sadistic serial killer, begins murdering key political figures in Gotham City, Batman, in his second year of crime fighting, is forced to investigate the city's hidden corruption and questions his own family's involvement.
Oh, perfect setup, perfect premise, perfect people behind it. Mm-hmm. But we're going to go ahead and take one little sidetrack because there's something that actually happened that kind of has to do with the Batman, but at the same time, not really.
So basically, if you haven't heard, AMC has hiked the ticket price for this movie. It doesn't really bother me because, I'm an A-lister, so I just pay $22 a month and I get the ticket, so it doesn't affect me at all. However, I kind of saw this coming because, with a lot of movies such as The Batman, you got Doctor Strange coming out. We have a lot of comic book superhero-related movies coming out soon. And we all saw this coming. I know Spielberg predicted it a couple years ago. So it doesn't really bother me that much.
So for me,
yeah,
it really does.
Really?
So a lot of people will compare all of this to, well, if you go to see a person for a concert, like you go to see Bon Jovi, closer you sit, the more you're going to pay.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this isn't the case with these kind of tickets. It's you are paying a premium for what a theater thinks is going to be the most selling thing. Mm-hmm. The idea of the movie theater has always been cheap family fun.
Right.
At no matter what price, it's the same price for whatever movie, and it keeps it level. And also, it's a good way to track how a movie's doing via the box office score.
Right.
You're throwing all that out the window.
Mm-hmm.
You are skewing the numbers. You are absolutely pricing people out. And if you're paying more for a movie, that movie better be better than the rest of the other movies.
Right.
If I'm paying so much more for Batman than I am for, let's say, Cyrano,
right?
Why?
What's the point?
It's comparing apples and oranges.
Right.
The Batman is a totally different film from a film like Cyrano or Licorice Pizza,
right,
or West Side Story. There's no reason to overprice movies over others. This is a greedy power move by AMC, and I hope to God that they take it away as quickly as possible, because the reason why they're testing it with the Batman is because they know people are going to pay it for the Batman.
Right.
And they're going to go at it and say, hey, look how much money the Batman made off of this new system that we're introducing. Well,
right.
Yeah, of course it's going to succeed when you have it attached to a movie like The Batman.
Right. A cash cow,
something that's going to be making money no matter what. But there's no reason why you should be trying to outprice other movies.
Right.
If it were to be kind of like a thing of where you are paying more for like the first weekend and the price keeps on going down as weeks and weeks go.
Right.
Sure. That would make sense.
That would too. Yeah, I totally agree with you that because people are going to be flocking in to see this movie. And we saw that we are doing this recording on a Friday. We saw this on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And I looked at the numbers already. This movie made a ton of money for Thursday previews.
But I guarantee you this movie would have made more money if they would have kept it at the regular price, because if you remember, we went to go to AMC. We were both A-listers, so
Yes.
the price didn't really affect us.
No.
However, when we walked into that theater, I was expecting a sold-out theater.
I did too.
I was expecting a sold-out theater. Do you know how many people were in that theater? It was about half full.
Yeah, and
For a 7:30 show on the biggest blockbuster of 2022 yet.
yeah, I was a little disappointed in the crowd.
And I guarantee you the price had something to do with it.
Oh, you could make bank on that, yeah. But you know what? It's not our decision, Zach. But you know what is our decision? This little recording that we have going on.
We do have a review for the Batman. We are going to go ahead and jump right back into that. So, Mitch, this was your number one most anticipated movie of 2022. What was your reactions after seeing the Batman?
It delivered.
Okay.
It delivered big time. Now, I will say, going in, I was so excited to see this movie. I loved the fact that it was 3 hours long. I loved how the trailers made it seem it was going to be violent. It was going to be dramatic. It was going to be a detective story. It was going to be a little scary. And the 3 hour runtime for me, kind of little hit or miss for me, but the movie itself was just phenomenal. Matt Reeves' direction, Robert Pattinson as the Batman. I mean, I really can't say a whole lot just yet because this is just my first thoughts. I want you to hear your thoughts.
Sure.
And then we'll discuss it together. But it delivered.
As a number one.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So,
Zach?
for me, for those, if you guys remember, it was on my top 10 list too. It was my number 7. And ironically, this is episode 7. I hate to echo the same sentiment. You said it was a perfect number 1. I think it was a perfect number 7.
That's fine.
So don't get me wrong. Were there really good elements of the Batman? Yes. Was there really wonderful things done in this movie? Yes. Did it differentiate itself from every other version of Batman, both on the silver screen, on the smaller screen, and from the comics? Mm-hmm. Yes. But there are issues. We're going to go ahead and get into some of those when we go into our review into the nitpicky, but it's not bad. Absolutely not. It is not a bad movie, but there are things that can be worked on it. And if we were to get a sequel for this version of Batman,
which we
probably will, especially since we are going to have an Arkham series coming out, which I am pretty stoked for, and a series based around Colin Farrell's Penguin, which is going to be really, really fun as well.
There's also a Gotham City Police Department HBO Max coming out too. So reality, they have 2 sequels possibly.
Yeah.
And they also have 3 TV shows.
Yeah.
Or streaming shows. So basically Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson and Jeffrey Wright, who plays Detective Gordon, they are in this for a long haul.
Yeah, they've started kind of like their own little mini pocket universe.
Which,
here.
I mean, I'm okay with, and we'll get into this, but I have to say, I'm a little disappointed that this isn't going to be their main Batman in the DCEU going forward.
But speaking of the Batman, let's actually talk about the man, the myth, and the legend who is going to be taking on Bruce Wayne and Batman, going to be putting on the cowl. Robert Pattinson, Mr. Twilight Boy, as Batman.
I got to say that. I have to say this. Robert Pattinson killed it as Batman. He was so good in the role. He brought something that we haven't seen from a Batman in such a long time. Mm-hmm. You saw glimpses of it with Michael Keaton. You saw not as much with it with Christian Bale. You didn't really see it at all with Ben Affleck, other than like the Martha scene, if everybody knows what we're talking about. Yeah. But Robert Pattinson brought this pain, this struggle with Bruce Wayne / Batman.
Yeah, he brought his trauma.
Yes, and we have never seen that. And another thing that when I was watching the movie, I did not mention this to you, Zach, last night when we saw it, but when I was watching that movie and I saw him in the suit for the first time, I did not say there's Robert Pattinson in the Batsuit. That is Batman.
Yeah.
That is Batman.
And that was a sentiment that I will definitely echo. When Robert Pattinson puts on the cowl, when he is Batman, we've seen nothing like it. This is a raw, unhinged Batman. He has absolutely almost no control over himself once he starts fighting.
He does not.
He just rips into his victim and he goes for it. This is genuinely a vigilante, not a superhero. Just as you said when we talked about in our top 10, how Robert Pattinson instantly said, "Oh, he's not a hero."
Not
this
yet.
Batman is not a hero.
And one little other thing is, this is a detective story. When there's a few scenes that we will talk about later, early on, where you see Batman see things that every police officer that's in that little crime scene. I mean, they've been searching that crime scene for a good probably hour or two at least. Yeah. And he notices something literally in his first minute that nobody else sees. Yeah. And that's what I've always wanted. And it's all thanks to not just Matt Reeves, but it's Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, his performance helps sell it.
Yes.
And I will also say, so in our notes, we have a very long list of casts that we definitely want to talk about and get through, but I'm going to move one person up because you mentioned that this is a detective film. We have to talk about, if we're talking about a detective film, who we're trying to figure out, who we're trying to find, and who we're trying to get. We have to talk about Paul Dano's Riddler right here.
Yes.
His Riddler is definitely not Jim Carrey's Riddler.
No.
And it is definitely more in the vein of the comics.
Yes. So if I may, real quick, Zach.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was talking to a few friends about this movie. I have to give Paul Dano's portrayal a very solid grade because he brought something that we've never seen anything like this with the Riddler. And I'm going to say his performance as the villain it's not better because nobody tops this, but it's on par with Heath Ledger's Joker.
Yeah, I will still say Heath Ledger's Joker is still better than Paul Dano's Riddler, but at the same time, I feel like he did what Heath Ledger's Joker did, which was give a refreshing and different take on the Joker that we really haven't seen on the silver screen. And that's one thing that I really love about the Riddler and about this particular Riddler is his intellect is sharp as ever. He tries to continually test the Batman, and he really does want to be the smartest man in the room. But with this Riddler, he has a purpose too.
Yes.
Which is, I think, the thing that really helps out the Riddler's character is that, yes, this man is a serial killer and a psychopath.
Definitely.
But he's a man on a mission. He's a man on a crusade.
Right.
He's not being a serial killer to kill whoever he wants for the fun of it. He's doing it to make a point. And that is why I feel like this Riddler is something special in this. And it's a perfect foe for Batman taking on the greatest detective role in this. And I feel we'll talk a little bit more where I feel like it works and where it doesn't in the spoiler section. But I was really excited that the Riddler was our main antagonist of this, and they delivered on that detective and serial killer vibe.
Speaking of characters that have delivered, we've talked about Robert Pattinson as Batman. We've now talked about Paul Dano as Riddler. We got to talk about Zoe Kravitz as Selena Kyle, Catwoman.
Oh, yeah.
She was so good.
She was not your Michelle Pfeiffer either.
No.
But in a very great way.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like she brought something that nobody has seen before.
Or, to be honest, expected.
No,
honestly.
but it's been something that a lot of people have been craving for Catwoman and so long. They've been craving this type of Catwoman, this cat burglar that we have never seen before. Because Michelle Pfeiffer, she wasn't a cat burglar.
No, she was spandex and just tried to look good on camera. It was all glory and no grit in the Tim Burton.
And she wanted vengeance against the Penguin, which we'll talk about Penguin later. And also the fact that I know Anne Hathaway, she played her a little bit in Dark Knight Rises, but again, she wasn't that petty cat burglar.
I mean, she kind of was, but
was she really? Though?
Well, she kind of went. I feel like she was a Catwoman that was past her small scores.
Okay.
Like Anne Hathaway at that point for her Selena Kyle, she was starting to do bigger scores and whatnot. Okay. And the entire point of her character in The Dark Knight Rises was that she tried to do a big score. She got caught. And now she's got a record. And that was the entire point, is that she wanted to get that away. So that she could become a cat burglar again and be anonymous and whatnot. So it's great and refreshing to have this version of Catwoman in this story because she's a great foil to Batman because it really showcases that they're two sides of the same coin, just of two different backgrounds.
Yes.
The exact same thing pretty much happens to both of them, but they both come out on different sides of the spectrum and different paywalls too.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a big scene that they even talk and go in depth about it. So but yeah, Selena Kyle, Zoe Kravitz, wonderful job on Zoe's part. But another person I have to applaud is Jeffrey Wright as Detective James Gordon, not Commissioner Gordon.
No,
Detective Gordon.
He was phenomenal in this movie.
I have to say, I think he is my favorite James Gordon, even over our Dark Knight friend
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman, and I adore Gary Oldman's Detective Gordon, but this. Jeffrey Wright killed it, dude.
Well, it wasn't the fact that we've seen Detective Gordon for eons.
Yeah.
We've seen him forever. We all know his story. We all know what he does.
Well, and I feel like for him, he's such an easy character to feel the same.
Yeah. But he brought something new to the character as well. The first African American to play him, and boy, oh boy, he delivered top notch.
I think for me, the thing that differentiates this Gordon from other Gordons, this Gordon is just tired of the bullshit.
I know. Yes.
He sees how Gotham is fading, and he sees how the police are fading and how the system is failing, and he's just tired of it. And he's tired of the red tape. He's tired of everything. So he's just trying to try something different.
Well, and
that's why he's trying to trust the Batman in this situation, I feel like.
Right. He's also one of those, that good cop.
Yeah.
He wants to be that good cop. And you could tell that there have been probably times where certain mafia bosses that we'll get to later probably want him on their payroll.
Yeah.
But he keeps refusing because he wants to be the good cop.
Yeah.
He wants to be the good cop. And his relationship with Batman is something, again, I keep saying this over and over again. We haven't seen things like this before, but it's true. This movie with all these characters is something that we haven't seen before, and people have wanted to for so long.
Yeah. And, another character that we also have to bring up. It's the Penguin, played by actually Colin Farrell. That's playing the Penguin.
I was so impressed with him.
So when I saw The Dark Knight, it was me and my dad, and after we got out and we were talking, and my mom, we got home and he was telling my mom, when he was talking about Heath Ledger's Joker, he was like, I genuinely could not see Heath Ledger as the Joker. I just saw the Joker. He was unrecognizable.
Right.
This is the same thing with Colin Farrell and the Penguin.
I agree.
I genuinely cannot see how that is Colin Farrell. To me, genuinely, it's I swear, it's not him. I swear to God, it's Taxi Driver.
I know, yeah.
It's this.
Whoa, take it easy, sweetheart.
It's good. It's so great, and what makes me even more excited, because you see, the great thing about Oswald Cobblepot is that he always is trying to prove that he's more than who he is. He's worth more, he's better, he does more, but everyone just always looks down on him.
Yeah, because
they played that up to the 10s here.
Yes.
And I cannot wait, because he plays a role in this movie, but not a huge role. Mm-hmm. It's enough to be in the movie, but the amount that you get just makes you so much more excited for the Penguin show that's coming.
Yes.
And how he starts in this movie and how he's going to grow through the series is really interesting and really intriguing.
Absolutely. You know who else was very intriguing? And it's the last cast member on our list that we must discuss. It is Andy Serkis as Alfred.
Yeah, Alfred. We have yet another incarnation of Alfred, which, I mean, if you're going to do Batman and Bruce Wayne, you have to have Alfred.
Yes.
You have to have him. Hot take... He was okay.
I wanted more of him.
I don't get me wrong. There were very emotional moments between Bruce Wayne and Alfred in this movie. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if some of them landed and some of them didn't. And I don't know if that's because of a script, or if it's because of pacing, or if it's because of Andy Serkis's portrayal of it. But there was... I don't want to say that there was something off, but it just didn't land overall for me.
I feel like this is an Alfred we've seen before. Because Alfred, even though I love Alfred, Big Al, I mean, great character all around. He's a very easy, I don't want to say easy character to portray, because no character is easy to portray, but we've seen Alfred in so many things. We've seen him in so many films. We saw him in the Gotham TV show. Good show. I recommend that for everybody. But I also feel like, going back to the script, I feel like there's so many characters and so much story to tell with each character. Mm-hmm. I felt like Matt Reeves may have said, Alfred's going to have to take a little bit of a
backseat.
Yeah. And which I hope his role expands in the sequels going forward, and I'm sure they will. I have all confidence in Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis did very, very well with what he had.
Yeah. And I will get into more about that, because in this movie, Alfred shows up more when Bruce Wayne is more on screen than Batman is.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of get into that split dichotomy, but we'll get into that more when it comes to the spoiler side. But what we will say, just kind of off the top, you see Batman more in this movie than you do see Bruce Wayne. Mm-hmm. So because of that, you really see Alfred a whole little bit, just because you don't see Bruce Wayne a whole lot. Mm-hmm. And in this incarnation of Batman, Alfred's there for Bruce Wayne, not for Batman.
Right. Well, you know, we've talked about all these characters. We're talking about what we're seeing on screen.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the music that we were hearing?
Oh, Michael Giacchino, you've done it again.
Yes.
Son of a bitch.
So for those of you that don't know, Michael Giacchino's score, I mean, he's done so many things. He's done Incredibles, he's done Spider-Man, he's done Doctor Strange, and now he's done
World. He's done.
He's John Williams.
He's a prodigy of John Williams, and you can hear it.
I know.
The dude is, I swear to God, he's going to be our next John Williams. He is the new age John Williams, because every single time this man has scored something, he does so well. And every single time that main theme comes in,
I know,
it's used to perfection. Never overused, never overstays its welcome.
Yeah.
You feel it every single time.
Well, he actually, when he was hired, they had just started filming, and Matt Reeves said, because composing, that's done late in the film process. And I think he was busy doing the Spider-Man No Way Home music, I think.
I think so too.
He made that theme while he was working on Spider-Man because he was so excited. And I have to say, because everyone's going to ask, like, oh, is it better than Danny Elfman's? Is it better than Hans Zimmer's music? I have to say yes.
Oh, yeah. It's not even a question.
It's not like the Batman.
Well, and that's the thing. Each version has its own kind of like iconic sound.
Yeah.
And he does it again.
I know. I absolutely agree.
Each Batman really does have its own unique way. Danny Elfman has his style. Mm-hmm. Hans Zimmer has his style. Michael Giacchino brings his style to spades. Mm-hmm. He knows what he signed up for, and he brought it. And every single time he continued to absolutely crush it. But one person that I think you really think crushed it in the director chair is Matt Reeves. I want to hear what you thought about Matt Reeves' directing of this film.
So Matt Reeves, I know that, Zach, you're going to disagree with me on this, and that's fine, I guess. But Matt Reeves, you could tell as soon as the movie started, this was something that was going to be so different from other Batman portrayals. The Gotham City was different. There was constantly raining, and that was a director's choice. It was constantly raining, number one. It was dark. It was scary. It was set in Halloween, and believe me when I tell you, friends, it's a long Halloween. And that was by his choice.
Yeah.
He wanted this movie to be so crucial. And you could also really see that. I have to go back to Spider-Man No Way Home. I was in the theater. People were cheering. People were excited. People were just happy. When I was in that theater, even though it was only half full, the whole time I was watching that movie, it felt like nobody wanted to move because they were so entranced with what they were seeing on that screen. And that's all thanks to Matt Reeves. He doesn't want people to get up and go. He doesn't want people to scream. He doesn't want people to cheer. He wants people to feel something so bad or something so psychological with Batman and the Riddler. And he succeeded with that. He did so well. I am so excited to see what he's going to do with 2 and 3 because, and I hope you agree with me on this, the 2 and 3 are just going to be even better.
Yes. So you're going to find in my review of this movie that I am very much split on a lot of things. One thing I will give Matt Reeves credit for on this feels like a passion project. He knew what he wanted and he knew exactly what he was going for. And I, to be honest, applaud Warner Brothers for trusting their director and allowing to say yes to everything that creative man said. 100%. I love that that's what Warner Brothers was willing to do, especially with as big of a character as Batman, to have no interference whatsoever, because that's what it reads in this movie. However, you rarely hear this from me. Sometimes you really do need to say no to creators sometimes. You really do. And I know that it's a little bit lower on our list, but I'm going to go ahead and bring it up again. The runtime on this movie is almost indicative of Matt Reeves. Because it's a passion project, because he believed in everything, I love it. I'm happy that he was able to bring his movie to the theater. But there was no reason why this movie should have been as long as it was.
See, the runtime...
There were some things that should have been cut from this movie, and it needed a scalpel. It needed a second opinion. And I feel like they didn't get a second opinion. I don't think that you should have too many cooks in the room, but you should always have at least one person being a creative, and then one person having a third party and look around and say, okay, I see what you're going for. Maybe do this and this, and then you should be good. There should always be a second person in the room to always help and make the art as clean as possible. It was just a little muddy and dirty, and I feel like the runtime specifically is how it kind of hurt it, and I think that is indicative of Matt Reeves' directing.
So the runtime didn't bother me near as much because you know me, I love 3-hour runtimes. I love them.
And I love them too. You have to continue making sure that your story is streamlining and is continuing the full narrative and making sure that everything is moving forward. Even a half step, even a quarter step can sometimes bring it down, or sometimes needs to be deleted for the sake of the overarching story. And I feel sometimes that's where it went. But I'm sorry for interrupting. You can go ahead and continue.
So again, the runtime didn't bother me. There were a few times where it dragged a bit, but I feel like that was just the direction with what the story was going for at the time. But you and I can both agree the tone of this movie was incredibly consistent.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
And that is to Matt Reeves' direction.
100%. That is definitely where where his directing shines, is that the tone is clear from the moment this movie opens to the moment this movie ends.
Right.
It grows. It has a heartbeat, which I will 100% say. It goes into cardiac arrest at one point, but he picks it back up.
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, I know you wouldn't, but I do.
Well, I mean...
But it's okay.
We will let the audience decide.
We'll let the audience decide. Again, everyone's opinion is fine and valid.
Mine's better.
It is movies. So, but one thing I know that me and you will definitely agree on. The fighting in this movie...
Yes!
...is absolutely spectacular.
So we mentioned in our Uncharted review, which if you haven't listened to that, what have you been doing?
Maybe it's because we haven't posted it yet. But that's besides the point. That's probably why you haven't listened to it yet, but it's coming, I promise. Probably when this review is up, I promise it will be up. But
Zach! But you...
At time of recording, it's not up.
Zach mentioned that you feel every single punch, every single kick, every single
Uncharted,
hit.
yes.
With this one, I don't know if it was like, I felt every single punch or every single kick, but it was one of those deals, like, I didn't feel it, but you could tell whoever was getting punched
could feel it.
Yes.
Yeah, Batman pummeled some foes in this one.
There's a little bit of a spoiler, so I'm going to save that later, was with him and Commissioner Gordon. Oh, man. But we felt that. I felt
that one I felt.
Yeah.
So the one thing I will say, this fight choreography is epic, spectacular, brawler.
Yes. No mixed martial arts in this one.
Not mixed martial arts, which was kind of not really surprised about, because we saw this kind of brawler style in the trailers.
Yeah.
But it's new for Batman, if I'm completely honest, because he's supposed to have a very well knowledge of the martial arts and everything. So, but it's a very welcome change, if I'm honest, because it really lends back to what we were saying about the trauma. He's literally seeing his parents' killer in each and every single one of his victims, and he's letting it loose on each and every one of his victims. And I'm going to say victims because these people are absolutely getting sent to the hospital after their brawls with Batman. Some of these people are probably in comas, genuinely.
And I loved every single second of it because, again, you mentioned he took every fight so personal, and it shows how young and naive he is, and it's going to show later on in future films, I keep saying future films, that he's going to get even more impressive with his fighting style, but again, with this brawler, it was awesome.
It was unhinged, and it was amazing. I will say, near the end of the film, I felt because they use his fighting style kind of intermittently because it is a detective film, but by the end, that rawness kind of nulled my pain, kind of like how, like we were saying for Uncharted, like you felt every punch.
Right.
By the end, I wasn't feeling every punch. I feel like I kind of got a little numb to some of that violence. However, at the same time too, there's also a little bit of growth that you see in his character by the end. So he starts out as this very brutal and carnal Batman. And then you start seeing glimpses near the end of the Batman he's going to strive to be in the later movies.
Yes.
But I feel like I'm bordering on spoilers here. So let's go ahead and move on to our next topic of Gordon and Batman's relationship.
Their relationship was one of the best relationships about this movie. And it's one of the best Gordon-Batman relationships we have seen. Period. Amen.
Absolutely. To be honest, the one thing that I think that this movie did absolutely perfectly, that I feel like no other Batman movie has done so far yet, Gordon and Batman genuinely work together on this stuff. They are boots on the ground together at multiple points in this movie.
Yes.
And I love that.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like every single time that we get an interpretation of Gordon and Batman, it's usually meeting on a rooftop, getting on the same page, and Gordon saying, well, I can't do that because I have paperwork to do, and Batman disappears and goes do it because he doesn't have to answer to anybody.
I have something real quick, Zach.
Yeah.
I don't know if we mentioned this yet, but we mentioned Seven.
Yeah.
Directed by David Fincher, I think?
Yes, David Fincher.
David Fincher. Jeffrey Wright, Detective Gordon, is Morgan Freeman.
100%.
And Batman is Brad Pitt.
100%.
I mean, that just hit me. Just hit me. And that is what we saw. And that's another thing and you see that in Batman comics where, Batman, he loses control even later on in his career.
100%.
And here comes Gordon's. Like his
moral compass.
Yes, because Batman has multiple moral compasses. He has Alfred when he's at home as Bruce Wayne, and he needed.
He has Oracle when he needs her. Not in this movie, but which I hope to God we get Oracle at some point. I would love. I just want to know where we are at in that situation. Has the Killing Joke happened yet, or I want to know, what's going on?
Spoiler, maybe the second one.
Well, yeah, no, we.
Okay.
I really want to see where Barbara Gordon is right now.
Right, but that is something that I've been wanting to see. I wanted to see Commissioner Gordon be that kind of. They play the good cop, bad cop in this one. Enough about that. If we keep going on about this, we are going to spoil the movie for you. So let's talk about one more relationship, and then we're going to rank Batman's.
Yep. So what relationship would you like to talk about, Mitch?
Well, we touched upon her earlier, but I want to talk about a little bit of Selina and Batman.
Absolutely. So this movie kind of does what comic book readers and writers have been hoping to see from these two for a while. We actually get to see a Selina Kyle that is fighting for something, opposes what Batman is doing, but can actually match him and best him at some points and get to her target first.
I have to say that everything you said is correct. I think their relationship was a little rushed.
It was a little rushed, I feel.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
They do things in this movie that we can't talk about right here because we're in our non-spoiler, but it's almost West Side Story-y of he sees the girl and oh my God, it's the girl. And that is a trope of movies of how love is introduced. I just never thought I would see it with Batman. And especially in this version of Batman. But he gets entranced by Selina Kyle, and while it is rushed, it's still believable
to a certain degree.
To a certain degree, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. I will say, if we would have had any more of it, it might have went from feeling rushed to forced very easily. Mm-hmm. But they still teetered that line every single time that she came in. It made sense. Yeah. Every single time that the conversation switched between business and personal pleasure, it made sense.
And that goes back to...
And they play really well whenever they are going in between, like, you know, of their Batman and Catwomaning versus them, like, maybe is this a relationship? Or, like, them quipping is actually really, really well. Because you can see that there is a little bit of chemistry, at least, between the two of them. But I think, like, it's a good starting point.
I think, and that goes back to Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz with their portrayals as these two characters, as Bruce Wayne Batman and Selina Kyle Catwoman. You could tell they worked on these scenes all day, every day for some time.
Well, and the thing that I think is really special about these two specifically, they were characters first before being love interests, which I think helped both the characters and the actors as well. Yeah, it did feel a little rushed, but none of the decisions that were made compromised the characters. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think is important, is that the relationship could go one way or the other, as Selina Kyle and Batman's relationships do, because they're never very long relationships. They're always kind of ebb and flow whenever they get into shenanigans. But I feel like the great thing is that their characters still maintain their integrity, and Selina Kyle at the end of the day will still be Selina Kyle and do what she wants. And Bruce Wayne Batman will still have his moral compass and do what he needs to do, whether or not Selina is going to do it his way or her own way. And I love that relationship, and I like that they kept that aspect of their relationship as integral as it was.
Well, Zach, before we go into our review, people want to hear how good was Robert Pattinson as Batman. Where would we rank him? Because he is the 6th actor to portray Batman.
That he is. So, ranking-wise, if we are talking about just Batman, not Bruce Wayne, if we are talking about Batman, he has become my number 1. He has become my number 1 interpretation of the Batman character.
I predicted this when we told our top 10, and you have proven me right. I love that. I think you discussed this with me last night, and I agreed with you. He is my number 1.
Yeah.
Above Michael Keaton, who is my number 2, followed by Christian Bale.
Which is funny, because the thing is, I'm a very controversial Batman fan in the sense that I enjoyed Ben Affleck's interpretation of Batman. I thought I really loved the grizzled old Batman that we were given. The Joss Whedon interpretation was a step backwards, and did both the character and Ben Affleck a disservice. But it was rectified with the Zack Snyder version of it, of how that tone should have been. Was it still as great as I hoped it would have been? No, I think that it could have been better, but I love Ben Affleck, and I love how the possibilities and the things that they were able to do with his character. But Robert Pattinson as Batman specifically is grade A+ Batman. Best interpretation we've ever had, even over our Lego Batman, All and Mighty,
Will Arnett.
Will Arnett, yes.
Yeah.
I love Will Arnett, and I love him in the Lego Movie, but and that is its own version of Batman.
Yeah.
But yes, Robert Pattinson is my number 1.
Thank you. We can end this recording.
No, hold on. Yeah. Let's not end it. We still got a lot to talk about, specifically what our review is of this movie. Do we give it and eat it up? Do we think it should be cooked a little more? Or are we going to feed it to the dogs? Jazz, are you hungry?
Well, I'll start it first. This was my number 1.
Yep, I agree.
And I have to say I ate this movie up.
There you go.
Robert Pattinson, the entire cast, phenomenal. Matt Reeves is directing. The score, the tone, the pacing was superb except for a few spots. The runtime was where it needed to be. It could have been shortened a little bit. Mm-hmm. But this movie, people are going to be talking about this movie for a very long time.
Yeah.
Zach?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have our first disagreement in terms of movies.
What?
Now,
you son of a bitch!
Now, like I said at the beginning...
Holy shit, Batman!
Like I said at the beginning, this movie is not bad. It is not a bad movie at all. It's just messy in some ways, and it did hamper my enjoyment of it. There are really great things that are done in this movie, and we're going to get into exactly what I liked and what I think needs to be worked on. And by the sound of it, you might kind of understand what I mean. So I think that this needs to cook a little more. I think it needs a little bit of extra seasoning. I think it needs a little bit of extra time. It's a little too unfinished, in my opinion. So I feel like if it were to have cooked just a little bit more, passed around the table a little bit more and edited down, maybe taken a few notes, I think it could have been an eat it up. But for me personally, I feel like it needed to cook a little more.
So basically, we can agree that it's a good movie.
We can agree that it's not bad. I do promise that I did enjoy a majority of it, but I can't say I enjoyed all of it. But we'll go ahead and get into that once we get into our spoilers. So,
before you go anywhere, I will say, continuing my review, this was a flawed masterpiece. And when I say flawed masterpiece, this movie was brilliant, but there were still a few tweaks that needed to be tweaked. Yep. And I will end it at that.
Yep. And you know what? It is okay. It is okay for us to disagree on movies. This is this is the best thing about movies is that everyone is different. We all have our opinions. And you know what? There is never going to be a perfect movie that everyone is always going to agree on. As an example, a lot of people think Citizen Kane is the best movie ever put to screen ever. I wouldn't even feed that shit to my dog. That movie is terrible, batshit terrible. Citizen Kane does not... And the Batman is way better of a movie than Citizen Kane will ever be.
Wow!
So I will say that. But
well, that'll be.
But like I said, it's everyone's opinion. But
okay, so now we have entered our spoiler territory.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
So if you don't want to be spoiled, turn off this recording now.
But rate us, please. We want a 5-star review, please.
Yes, please. Yeah. Oh, yes, please. And don't forget to share. Don't forget to tell all your friends.
We continue, and we love making this content for you, and we continue to love watching movies. We hope that you continue to listen to us, but we are now going to get into our spoiler scene. So if you have seen it or you just don't care, strap in, because this is going to be a roller coaster.
It's a bumpy ride for sure. And starting with our first spoiler, let's talk about that first scene.
No better spot to begin than the beginning.
Holy fucking shit, Batman.
So this opens really freaking well.
As soon as... Okay, so the setting up the scene, it's right after the opening title card.
Yeah.
And you're seeing somebody look into a house.
Yep.
And you originally thought it was...
I originally thought it was going to be Thomas and Martha Wayne. Because you see this very luxurious mansion of a house. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, okay, we're gonna get the origin story again. Cool, fine, whatever. Maybe a twist on it. Maybe they're gonna be murdered in their house. I don't know.
Which we did not see them murdered.
No, we did not. I'm very happy about that.
I love that. Anyway, so the scene changes. You see a mom, a dad, and a son, having a little fun on Halloween.
Yeah.
You find that out later on in the scene, and you find that it's a very rich politician set at present times. He's watching TV.
It's specifically the mayor of Gotham.
He is the mayor of Gotham. There is a scene where he is watching TV, and I think he had to answer the phone.
So what he did, he's watching he's up for re-election, and he's watching a debate between him and his rival, and it's the news.
Yes.
And they're talking about how the rival wiped the floor with him. He did not do well in that debate. So he is calling, we don't know who just yet. Well, we find out later who he called. But he's calling somebody and saying, why is she winning?
Right.
What is going on?
And he turns a very short turn.
Very short turn towards like the side of the camera. He just goes off screen.
And there you see somebody that has been standing behind them for who knows how long. Yeah. And it is Riddler there to kill him.
Yes.
I mean, everybody, no one really gasped.
No.
But you did.
You felt the air just kind of leave the room.
Yes. I think can you do a rerun of what happens? Okay, so he turns, you see him, Zach?
Oh. That was my reaction. He literally just steps off camera and you see Riddler. I just go, oh.
But let's just say if you have children and they see this movie, they will scream.
Yeah,
because it is so scary. It's scary.
Freaky. Yeah. It rivaled on horror, I would say, for that part. And the great thing was Matt Reeves was such a perfect. This is the hallmark of a really wonderful director. He steps away and you see Riddler. Then he lingers on that shot. And the mayor doesn't realize that he's still in the room for another 3 minutes. He ends the call with his person that he's on the phone with. But Riddler allows him to finish his phone call, and this dude still doesn't see him. It literally takes him to hang up the phone and then turn around to go get something.
And he turns off the TV.
And he turns off the TV, and he's just standing there. And then Riddler, I feel like at some point, is like, all right, enough of this crap. And then just dives in and goes for him.
Well, and you actually see what kind of killer Riddler is when he kills him, because he screams at the top of his lungs. Yeah. I mean, screams. Almost like... It wasn't like a scared kid. It was like
a raw, rabid animal.
Yes. And it was, again, I have to say, it was scary.
Yeah.
And you find out later he didn't kill him with that first hit.
Yeah.
You find out later that he does a few other things.
Yeah.
But he's the mayor's laying there unconscious, and there you see, from the trailer, you see him grab duct tape. And it just rips, and you know right away that what's going to go down is going to be something so diabolical and so downright evil that you cannot look away.
Yeah.
And it's just with that first scene that just sets the tone that me and Zach talked about and we agree upon. This first scene set such a beautiful message to what the tone of this movie was going to be.
Yes. So I want to talk about specifically, before we transition into Jim Gordon and Batman's entrance into this, the kind of Gotham that we truly got in this film, because I feel like we need to set the stage of exactly what kind of Gotham we are living in specifically for this.
So,
because this Gotham, I'm not going to lie to you, is a shithole.
Yeah, well,
it is... Go ahead. Gone. This city is at its wit's end. The crime is absolutely rampant. There is I thought with Joker's Gotham, that was like bottom barrel like of Gotham. It was dirty. It was, you literally could not look away. You could look any direction. You could see crime anywhere.
Right.
This Gotham shoots it out of the water.
Well, and
this Gotham is so far gone. It's amazing that like even Batman is like, yeah, I'm gonna save this.
and Bruce also talked about when you first hear Bruce, and that's another thing that I really loved was Bruce narrating throughout the first couple, like where you first see Batman. He's narrating a little bit,
yeah,
and he has said that I don't know if I'm making a difference. I've been doing this for 2 years, and crime has gotten worse, and now we're dealing with this psychopathic murderer. And as he's going around, the city just looks disgusting.
Absolutely, it looks like a war went through it, and everyone's looting. And just going through, and there's no law whatsoever.
No.
It looks like the police have basically just given up and said, you know what? We can't do shit. Have at it.
Yeah.
Do what you want.
So
we'll take care of the worst, but like, we don't care about any petty crime whatsoever. Go loot, go steal, do whatever. We don't care. We're the police.
Can we talk about that car chase?
Just 1 second, because I do want to talk about the very first time that we saw Batman.
I want to talk about the car chase.
We are. I promise.
But I do want to talk about it the first time we see Batman.
Because
you didn't put that in our notes.
I know. I forgot to.
Why didn't you put that in our notes? He didn't put it in our notes.
Because you reminded me with the whole narration thing that we forgot to put in our notes. So,
well, is that a compliment, Zach?
That is a compliment.
Well, thank you very much.
So,
I'll be here till Thursday.
We got to talk about that narration because, oh my God, was that the most Batman narration I've ever heard in my entire life?
I know.
And it genuinely reflects the fear that Batman puts into criminals because you see at the beginning everyone's going throughout their day and it's starting the sun is starting to set
and it's pouring rain.
It's pouring rain, but more importantly to me, the sun is setting and people are starting to get confident, starting to doing their
crime stuff,
daily robberies, your grocery store robberies and whatnot, and then the sun sets and shadows start to form,
and you also see something else in the sky,
and you see dark alleys. You start seeing dark alleys and everything, and then something goes in the sky. It's the bat signal,
and that bat signal was awesome.
That bat signal's really well done, but it's a reminder, as Batman says,
a warning.
And a warning, because the second because you see like 3 different sets of criminals in this like monologue sequence. The second that they look up at that signal, they look at the shadows,
and they're terrified.
And they are terrified because they are scared that Batman's about to walk out of that shadow.
Well, and go ahead.
I love that 2 of them, because he says in his monologue, "I cannot be everywhere."
Correct.
2 of them, Batman did not come out of those shadows.
No.
They got away with the crime. But were they still scared and stayed in the light? Absolutely they did. But unfortunately for a bunch of
little
Joker players, I'm not sure if they were part of the Joker gang or not.
I don't think
they were. I think they were just anarchists.
Yeah, they were.
But...
Oh, man. Can I take this one?
Yeah, you can take this one.
So, a little scene, these little anarchists, they are on a train, and one of them is new?
I think he's on his initiation.
Yeah, because they're all have their face painted, but he has half his face painted. So I feel like this is what earns his second his second phase. Two-face. So they say, okay, in order to get this, you need to beat up this guy on the train. The guy leaves, they leave too. Again, it's pouring. I mean, pouring. They take him away. They're saying, okay, you need to do it. You need to do it. You need to either beat him up, kill him. And then all of a sudden, he looks up at the sky. It's not a bird. It's not a plane. And by God, it's not Superman.
Yeah, they would be lucky if it was Superman.
Yeah. He sees the signal. He gets scared. But the rest of the people, like, it's just, whatever. Let's do him. Do him. Kill him. Yeah. And then you hear you hear footsteps, and they all turn to the shadows. And these footsteps are loud.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, when I heard it, I was scared.
Yeah.
I was scared.
Yeah.
And another thing, I have to talk about the audience again. I keep saying this. Nobody moved a muscle.
Yeah.
It was glorious. And you hear the score, you hear the music, and all of a sudden you see Batman.
Yeah.
Not Robert Pattinson.
No.
Not Edward Cullen.
Nope.
And definitely not Cedric Diggory.
Definitely not Cedric.
You see Batman in the suit, and he's ready, literally, even though it's just a bunch of punks, he's ready to go to war.
Yeah.
And he beats the living shit out of them.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I feel like, because how these people react to Batman, because it looks like some people know who Batman is and some people don't.
And this group did not know who he was.
This group just saw him as some cosplayer, as some tryhard.
The hell you supposed to be?
Yeah. But he's Vengeance Man, and he came out with a vengeance.
Yes.
Because he absolutely destroys people. When I said in my review that people were probably in comas or like maybe very close to the morgue, some of these people are very close to the inch of their life.
Especially the one he electrocuted.
Especially the one he electrocuted. I'm very certain that he is not. His heart for sure stopped for at least a little bit of time.
Well, then the scene segued into the first detective scene.
Yep.
And that detective scene was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, absolutely beautiful. Batman sees the signal, so he knows they need him right now.
Yep.
And it goes to the mayor's house.
Yeah.
And you could just tell that Batman, the whole time he was watching and looking at this scene and seeing a bunch of cops doing all their things, you could tell right away, he's like, I already know what's going on. Correct.
But he also, the one thing that I really love about this, like we said, this is a really nice start to Gordon and Batman's relationship as friends, because
oh, I know what you're talking
Gordon is at his wit's end, and he's like, this kind of serial killer is nothing like Gotham has had before.
Right.
We need something different. And if the chief of police were there, he would want this done by the book, because this is the mayor that has been murdered. This is going to be the highest of high-profile cases that has ever happened.
But the sad thing is, Gordon knows that by the book it's not possible with these crooked cops.
Exactly, and specifically with this kind of a serial killer.
Yes.
The best thing that was done in that scene, in my opinion, which goes to the actors and to Matt Reeves, the level of uncomfortableness between Batman and the cops was perfectly done.
Yes. Or like when the person taking the photographer, she accidentally ran into Batman. He's just standing there. Excuse me.
Well, and
that
also
was perfect.
But it's really well, and it also, because you can tell not only the cops are uncomfortable with Batman is also very uncomfortable with the cops as well.
Well, because he knows that majority of them are crooked.
Partially, yes, but I also feel like he also wants to prove himself.
Yeah. Second year.
I feel like this is his first big case.
I agree.
I think his first 2 years have been him basically going up against these anarchists. Mm-hmm. This is his first real, genuine case.
Right.
And I think he wants to prove himself. And he does in this scene specifically, because like how you said in the non-spoiler review, he only gets like 2-3 minutes in this crime scene when the police have been there for at least an hour, 2 hours, and he picks up on things in those minute or two that the cops never picked up on.
And you knew right away that he just knew his shit.
Yeah.
Because there was one where, I don't know who it was. It was the photographer.
Yeah.
And Gordon asked, like, is this his blood? And the photographer said, yeah, it's his blood. And they said his thumb was severed off. and I think somebody said, like, I've never seen somebody bleed that much when they're dead. Yeah. And Batman goes, he wasn't dead. His thumb was chopped off before he was killed. And everyone was just shocked.
Yeah.
Because he didn't even need to look at he took one glance at the thumb and knew right that the missing piece of a hand where a thumb's supposed to be. Yeah. And he said he knew his shit.
Yeah.
And you knew right away that this is the detective that we have been wanting for a Batman for years.
Yeah.
And it just clicked for me. And it was awesome.
So, and then that's where my first gripe with this comes.
You son of a bitch. How dare you?
In terms of him being a detective, it started out so goddamn strong.
It did, yeah.
But after that, we really, in my opinion, did not see much more of a detective from that point on.
They tried.
They tried. But ultimately, I feel like there was one other scene where I felt like he did really well as a detective, which is when they found the thumb.
Yeah. Well, I see what you're saying, but to me, I knew the whole movie wasn't going to be detective.
Well, and I felt like that it was going to be true too, that because it is Batman, we do want to see him brawl, we do want to see him do, but I wanted to see his thought process a lot more as a detective.
I think,
and we just didn't get as much of it. We got about like how smart he is.
Absolutely.
That I will say, especially when it comes to like the coding and whatnot.
Right.
Like him solving Riddler's code was awesome.
That was amazing.
But we really didn't get the great detective that I was hoping for. We got glimpses of him. We got more than we've ever seen in any other Batman.
I think we will see that in later films.
And that's the thing that makes me sad about that, though. Because the Riddler is such a good character to do that with. Mm-hmm. But then I think we should just kind of talk about how well the Riddler actually has just played Batman the entire movie.
Well, you can point to Batman's naivety. This is only his second year. Mm-hmm. And I also felt like the film with the detective thing, and you are right, that one scene was the big one. I feel like the more detective-y stuff that he did, even though I wouldn't count it as detective-y, he did more like field stuff. Not just, okay, here's a crime scene. I need to find things. I need to find clues.
Correct.
He did more of, okay, I'm going to get the information. I'm going to interrogate. He didn't do a lot of interrogating, which I actually enjoyed. Mm-hmm. He did more of I'm going to do stuff. I'm going to go and find the answers. With the Iceberg Lounge, he went in with a vengeance, and he got the information out of Penguin. He got the information out of Catwoman because he went and did that. So I feel like he still was a detective. So
yes, he is still kind of following leads, which is what
detective.
But it's
you wanted to see more of him clue solving.
Exactly.
Okay,
and especially with the Riddler,
right?
And that's where I feel like there was a miss with the Riddler.
Yeah.
Was that his riddles...
Too easy, maybe?
...were not only too easy, they were also just more so of a calling card.
They were.
I feel like the Riddler he riddled to call card more than to, actually, wit.
Yeah.
Which, that's where I have a fundamental issue with this Riddler specifically, because... the point of Riddler is that he wants to showcase that he is smarter than Batman.
Absolutely.
This incarnation of Riddler just wants to prove that he is the same as Batman.
Yeah.
That that they're the same kind of person. Mm-hmm. Riddler knows that he cannot win a fight against Batman.
Right.
But on wit's level, he wants to say, I am just as smart or crazy as you are. Mm-hmm. And I was hoping that we were going to get a Riddler that was a lot more prideful.
Yes.
And more assured of himself.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that he didn't have a glorious quest, because this Riddler did, and I will applaud them on that.
He had a big purpose.
He had a genuine purpose for every single thing he did, which I applaud, and is a very different take on the Riddler. Mm-hmm. It's just not the Riddler I expected, and to be honest, I guess it just failed my expectations, so I guess I was just disappointed on that.
Okay. So enough of that. I want to talk about Batman's naivety. I touched up on that, and then we can talk about the car scene.
I agree.
So we mentioned that I did, that this is Batman's second year. Mm-hmm. It's not only, I don't want to just touch upon his naivety, if that's a word.
No, it is.
I also want to touch upon about how the hell this son of a bitch can do all these things and get less than 8 hours of sleep.
Oh, yeah.
You see that contact scene?
Yeah.
Oh my God. And you see how bloodshot his eyes are? I'm like, holy
The dude doesn't sleep.
I mean, I literally wanted to get eye drops. And you could just tell, like, he's so like in I can't even say.
You can feel that he's fighting a losing battle.
Yes, and you felt terrible for him, but I appreciated what he was trying to do. And going back to his naive stuff, when he jumped off the GCPD.
Okay, so one thing that I will say, this Batman eats bullets. Genuinely,
I know.
This I will preface this by this Batman. You could shoot a bazooka at him, and I feel like it would just ding right off of him.
He gets shot by a shotgun, point blank, like from me to Zach away.
Literally like a foot and a half away. He gets shot with a shotgun, and you hear him go, ugh! But like, there's no blood, there's no nothing. I want whatever the front door he bought. It's like, you can tell
Or he built, yeah.
He's a billionaire, so like he bought the best.
Yeah, I know.
He could.
But that bridge.
But okay, so we see Batman fly/glide for the first time in that scene.
It was pretty neat,
and it was neat. I would like it's a little bit different. We kind of got more of like a fly suit version of Batman instead of the big cape with the wings, as we're more normal to.
Yeah.
But you can see he's still new to it. Because even when he's zipping it up, he's like, "Am I going to do this? Oh yeah, I have to. No choice. Go by."
No grapple points here.
He tries to land, but he bumps into a building, and then he starts losing control, and then he just eats a bridge.
Well, he tried to parachute late. He did the parachute really late.
He did the parachute really late. The parachute catches, and then he just swings right into the bridge, George of the Jungle style. And he lands right on top of a truck and falls off the truck. And I just say, so this Batman can eat bullets, but his kryptonite is a bridge.
But when he fell and got up and he started limping, oh man. And everybody's just like, shit. But he survives.
He survives.
And without really that much of a scratch.
No,
even though he has a lot of scars.
Knocked out of him, dude.
He had a lot of scars, I will say. You do see Robert Pattinson shirtless, and he got jacked for this movie. Yeah. But yeah, going back to him being naive, there was still a lot of things that he was working on that he probably hadn't tried. There were a few, like, we'll talk about it later. The Batmobile, you could tell he was doing some finishing touches on that.
Yep.
I felt the car chase scene may have been his first time driving that thing.
Probably, yeah.
But with the that jumpsuit, I'm telling you, you could tell that's the first time he used
100%.
that.
He never used that before.
Well, and also I feel like the grapple was new too for him.
Yeah.
Because
he used it well. I'm not gonna lie, I've never seen the grapple so well used in movies before, because Batman knew exactly what to do with that grapple.
Well, it reminded me of some of the Arkham fight scenes that you could do with the grapple.
If Arkham were to do rated M like grapple, I feel like it would do this, because he basically he would use the grapple as basically a gun.
Yeah.
And shoot him in the leg and grapple him that way. Mm-hmm. Bravo to Batman. That's one way to get your foe down and bring them to you and instill the fear of God into them.
Okay.
Because, oh my God, that's...
Also, going back to the fight stuff, and then we'll go to the car, the way he was naive and the way he was fighting, you could tell he didn't want to lose. Yeah. And Batman, it wasn't an older Batman. He wasn't afraid to lose, and Batman's not afraid. No, but it was the case of the older Batman. It's not like, oh, I don't want to lose. He knows he's not going to lose. He knows he's going to beat the shit out of everybody. Yeah. Whereas this Batman, he didn't want to lose. Yeah. He didn't know if he was going to win or lose. He didn't want to. Yeah. And that just goes to he's only been Batman for 2 years.
Well, and also I feel like that just kind of adds to this whole like idea that this is, I feel like his big break, his first case. Mm-hmm. So he's bound to make mistakes.
Absolutely.
And, by the end, he actually makes the biggest, gravest mistake of all. We'll get to that later, but
can we talk about the car?
Let's talk about this car chase.
Holy fuck!
Oh my God! Y'all,
that was the best car chase scene I've ever seen.
If you think Fast and Furious does car chases better, absolutely not.
That car chase.
This car chase is perfect because
I got you.
The one thing I was worried about the Batmobile here, because like the Batmobile usually has this kind of iconic look to it, right? This iconic style to it. Mm-hmm. And this was more of a souped-up muscle car. Yes. So I was a little bit worried going into this that this wasn't going to feel like the Batmobile. I felt like this was maybe going to be Mark 0.5 of the Batmobile before getting our Mark 1. Yeah. Which it might. Mm-hmm. It might be. We might get a more Batman-looking Batmobile later, possibly.
Like the Tumbler or what we saw at the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League with that big, humongous tank.
Yeah, or just something that's more Bat.
But this one was neat.
But this one is neat, and to be honest, I'm not going to lie, the thing that makes this chase feel so well... Mm-hmm. The Batmobile feels like an extension of Batman.
Yes. That's what I loved so much about it.
I feel like this car was Batman incarnate because the thing is, you played this chase mostly from the perspective of the Penguin. Mm-hmm. You do cut to Batman every now and again because things happen. You're like, oh, we got to see how Batman gets out of this specific instance. But
you could tell he's scared.
And the reason why it's genius that Matt Reeves directed it this way, the reason why he directed it from the Penguin's point of view is because you just see this car coming closer and closer and closer and closer, and you are with Penguin trying to get away from this. Yeah. Doing everything you can, crashing into cars, going the opposite direction of traffic, freaking turning over an oil tanker.
And then the explosion.
And it seems like nothing is working. And that oil tanker finally happens. And there's the big explosion.
I got you!
And we're basically doing, like, I feel like... It's literally the most, oh God, I keep on forgetting the name of the Taxi Driver actor.
Robert De Niro.
Robert De Niro, yes, thank you. He literally, I feel like they couldn't get Robert De Niro for this role, so they were like, we're going to get an actor and basically put Robert De Niro's face on this actor.
Yeah, and a little bit of his voice.
And we're going to still have it. But oh my God. It was the perfect moment for like a Robert De Niro moment because it's like, yeah, you did get him. No one on Earth could survive that.
And then all of a sudden,
there it goes.
There's
and
the
to
Batmobile.
be honest, there's one thing that this car chase scene was perfect and phenomenal. The one thing I probably would have cut out of it was maybe like the ramp being like dropped.
Okay.
Because I almost wish it was the explosion and we didn't see how exactly he got out of it. I think it just going from the car like launching out of the flames from the top and landing, we could have put 2 and 2 together on something. But
the ending crash.
That ending crash is brutal and carnal, and
I have to talk about this last bit, and then we'll go to somewhere else.
Yeah.
There is Penguin in his car. Literally, he wore his seatbelt.
Yeah, good for Penguin.
Wear your seatbelt, everybody.
He follows rules every now and again.
Wear your seatbelt when you're getting chased by Batman in his car.
That's the only way you're surviving.
I know. And Batman gets out and he's walking to Penguin, and you could see just the absolute fear that Penguin was feeling. Yeah. And Penguin wasn't afraid of Batman originally. He wasn't afraid of him.
Nope.
But then you see Batman slowly walk to the car, and then he bends over to Penguin, and I was almost just like, I was kind of wanting him to say something like, "You can get out now." I wanted him to say something along
Welcome to Chili's.
But you could tell, like, that look that he was giving Penguin, just be like, "You made an illegal left turn."
It's almost like the Captain America video from schools, so you got detention.
I wanted him to say something along the lines of that was a legal left, or you went at a red light or something like that.
Do you know how fast you're going?
Yeah, but it was just a perfect ending to a perfect chase scene.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, what is next on our spoilers, Zach? Please.
So we get the reveal that a very interesting, and I'm actually going to very well applaud this. Mm-hmm. Carmine Falcone is Selena Kyle's dad.
Yeah. What? Spoiler. Hello?
Really good twist.
Yeah, it was good.
I
didn't like Carmine Falcone in this movie.
To be honest, I think they set him up really well.
Yeah.
Because it was always Carmine Falcone. It's Carmine Falcone. We don't talk about Carmine Falcone. He might be in the Iceberg Lounge. He might not. We don't. They set him up really, really well. And he's such a well-respected villain in the comics that I always enjoy seeing him. And I thought the actor...
John Turturro.
Yep, who I was excited when I saw him be revealed as Falcone. I was like, okay, cool. I'm here for this.
Right.
And he played almost like a Godfather one, which I was loving it. I was excited about it. I think I liked it a little bit more than you did.
I think you did too.
But the twist itself, though, I thought was really well done.
Right.
Because it's the right amount of out of left field, but grounded enough to the point where you understand, because Selena Kyle has seemed to be around that area. So it made sense why she would be his daughter.
Yeah.
But at the same time, so I was talking about how something should have been cut. This entire plot, as cool as this reveal was, this is one of the storylines that should have been cut.
Yeah, it kind of didn't really feed the story.
No.
Because go ahead.
It is important. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
Because we're actually going to get into the reason why it's important in the next bit of why Carmine Falcone is actually very integral to this story.
Yeah, and I will talk about this in that next reveal. Go ahead.
I feel like the same weight and gravitas could have been done with a different character.
Okay.
Well, no. The daughter reveal is fine. It's more so, I guess, the Wayne reveal is what I think I was about to get to, that I think they could have changed.
Well, I'll do that.
Yeah.
So what he's talking about is the big reveal. I wouldn't say, would you call it at the end of the second act, or maybe at the beginning of the third?
More, I would break this movie up into 4 acts.
Yeah, it's that long of a movie.
Yeah, because I feel like, this is more so the end of the second act going into the third act.
Yes, and so basically Batman and Detective Gordon are walking around this old abandoned orphanage
that the Wayne Foundation has funded.
Yes, and has stopped funding since Thomas and Martha Wayne were killed. Spoiler, they died.
Oh my God, who would have known?
I know.
Thank God they didn't do the origin story again.
Yes.
Because
We've seen that
We've
so many
seen it,
times.
But the great thing about this specific incarnation, and I'm happy that they didn't show it, the only thing that this probably could have brought in bringing in the origin story of Batman is seeing more of that trauma of Bruce Wayne, of seeing where it started.
Yeah.
But we know how it started.
It would have been
so
a nice
don't
little
need-
like flashback thing.
Yeah.
I could have seen that, but I was okay that they didn't do that.
Exactly. Which also, that's going to be another thing that I feel like after the reveals, I also kind of want to talk about is the level of Bruce Wayne to Batman.
Yeah. So they find another Riddler clue, and it goes to tell who his next victim is, and it's pretty much Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
But why is it Bruce Wayne? Why is it Bruce Wayne? Or no, I wouldn't say it's Bruce Wayne. It's more Alfred or just Wayne in general.
Yeah.
Because obviously, Bruce Wayne's Batman. What? Spoiler! Oh my God! So you find out, Bruce finds out through this big reveal, hands down, that Thomas Wayne was in, I don't want to say association, but close enough.
Yeah.
Had made deals with Carmine Falcone.
Specifically, he had a person killed.
Not on purpose, though.
Yes, not on purpose, but Riddler makes it seem like it was.
Yes. Well, because, and here a little rundown, Martha Wayne, Bruce Wayne's mother, was an Arkham. And everybody knows what Arkham means. Arkham Asylum, Arkham State Penitentiary, Arkham Hospital. The name of Arkham means psychotic.
Yeah.
Mental problems.
Yes.
And you find out in this reveal that Martha Wayne had psychological issues.
Yeah.
And people found out about this, and during this time, Thomas Wayne had been doing his mayor campaign.
Yeah.
But word got out that Martha Arkham Wayne, if you will, had some psychological issues. Thomas Wayne wanted to protect his wife and his son. Because a lot of people are going to be like, oh, if the mom is crazy, the son's crazy.
Yep.
And you feel in that reveal the pain that Thomas was feeling. He doesn't want his wife to go through this.
Especially at the level of... Because when you're like superstars and you have money and whatnot, obviously your life is never too private.
Absolutely.
It's in the public eye.
And it's so
much.
sad.
So the fact that could get out to the public eye
It's crucial. It's terrible.
That knowing the public eye, it would eat it up, and people will want to, like, how is Martha Wayne doing? Checking in on Martha Wayne,
Yeah.
and take it to the next level of invasion of privacy. That it wouldn't be funny. So I understand why Thomas
Did what he did.
felt like he had to do something about it.
So, and what he did was he found out that a reporter leaked this information. So what Carmine did, or was going to leak the information, he went to Carmine Falcone. And a little bit of a backstory, Thomas Wayne saved Carmine Falcone when he was younger.
Yeah.
He was shot.
Yes.
And Carmine's father, Alberto Falcone, I found this out through the Long Halloween, a comic book story, and one of Zach and I's favorites.
Yep.
He went to Thomas's doorstep and said, I can't go to a hospital. I need you to save my son's life. Yep. He has been shot in the chest. You need to save him now, and I will owe you a favor. He did surgery on him, saved his life, got the bullet out, and Bruce saw the whole thing, da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
So Carmine Falcone owed Thomas a favor.
Yep.
So he goes to Carmine and says, can you silence him? Can you do something? Can you pay him? I will pay him whatever he needs. Can you do something to make sure this information doesn't leak out? Threaten him. Do something. Please I don't want you. He did not want him to kill him.
But he didn't specifically state that either.
Correct. But what does Carmine do?
What Carmine always does.
He kills him. And it really ruins Bruce's opinion of his father, Thomas.
Well, because Bruce Wayne has always put his parents on a pedestal.
Yes. And now he sees Thomas as this corrupt individual. But thankfully, Alfred talks to Bruce and really says, like, he didn't mean to have him killed. He wanted to protect you and your mom. And it was a very beautiful, beautiful reveal, in my opinion. Very beautiful reveal. And it really kind of, I know Zach said it kind of contradicted the first reveal. Yeah. Because that's a lot of information on Carmine Falcone.
Yeah.
A little too much. Because, you know, the movie was about Batman and Riddler. Yeah. And you added Carmine Falcone. That was a lot of storytelling in that little act.
Bit.
Yeah. Yes.
So the reason why I feel like this whole Carmine Falcone thing overstayed its welcome, because don't get me wrong, like I said, I love him as a villain because he's your classic mobster just dialed to 11 because he takes things way too far. This Carmine should not have been in this film just on the reason, and this feeds into another issue that I have, which we're going to specifically talk about right about here, is that this movie is called The Batman, and it's called The Batman for a reason.
You see Bruce Wayne in 2 scenes.
You do not see Bruce Wayne at all.
Yeah, it's pretty,
So, and I always feel like the best Batman movies are when you have the trifecta of Bruce Wayne and Batman. You have the Bruce Wayne that is the playboy, the public eye Bruce Wayne. You have the more private Bruce Wayne, which is the one who is with Alfred, the one who's with the people that he's closest to. Robin. And then you have the Batman. So I think that's where ultimately this movie fails for me, is because we really do not get Bruce Wayne pretty much at all in this movie. And I feel like without having Bruce in the movie, whenever he does come on, it feels like it's forced or stopped.
And a little bit of a letdown.
And it sucks because this is such a different kind of Bruce Wayne that we've never seen before.
A very interesting Bruce Wayne.
Very interesting Bruce Wayne. But we just never see him.
Well, and I'm going to segue into our next topic.
I do have just a little bit more
Go ahead.
Though. So when we get to this whole Carmine Falcone situation, this is a Bruce Wayne issue.
Yes. Not a Batman.
Not a Batman issue, a Bruce Wayne issue. And we hadn't had really any Bruce Wayne issues up to that point. So, yes, the Riddler made it personal.
Yes.
Which is good, but he made it personal a little too late.
I would agree with that.
So we're then forced to go to Bruce Wayne when we haven't given Bruce Wayne any genuine character development in this world yet. So it just fell flat.
Yeah.
And it just kind of stopped the movie. So I feel like if you were to have taken Carmine Falcone and this entire point out of it and replaced it with something different, I feel like it could have helped the movie a lot more.
I feel like maybe put it in a little earlier,
or maybe
flesh it out a little bit throughout the movie.
Yeah, just by having Bruce in the movie, maybe absolutely. A little more.
Well, and if I may, Zach, segue into our next, because I didn't want to cut you off, and I apologize.
Thank you.
The interrogation scene.
Yeah.
So, going from point to point.
Yeah.
You mentioned the trifecta.
Yeah.
But also, this movie is going to ask the question. And I've said this before, I will say it again. This will be the most talked about movie of the year.
Yeah.
Will it be my best picture? No.
No.
But it will be the most talked about because the audience will leave that theater asking the question for the first time in years. Who is the man? Is it Bruce Wayne or is it Batman? And this interrogation scene that we were going to discuss makes the audience ask themselves that. Who's the man? Is it Bruce Wayne or is it Batman? And the interrogation scene that I'm talking about, Riddler is caught.
Yeah.
at the middle of the third act. Or fourth act, whatever.
I would say probably third.
Third, okay.
It's the ending of the third.
And Riddler wants to speak to Batman.
Yeah.
Mano a mano, no cameras, no recordings.
Yeah.
In Arkham.
Yep.
And there he is, as Batman.
Yep.
Talking to Edward Nashton, not Edward Nygma.
Which I was kind of sad about that, but I get it. Edward Nashton, it makes sense. It makes sense. But I always like that.
And there is literally the Riddler or Edward looking at an idol, almost literally an idol.
Yeah. No, he idolizes Batman.
And there is Batman looking down upon him as scum, literal scum.
Yeah.
And they're talking, and Edward's saying we're the same, and Batman's saying no, we're not. And there comes another reveal. Riddler knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman. He's known for a long time.
Well, and the thing is that I love how they do it.
I did too. Yeah.
So the thing is, if you took the dialogue at face value, he doesn't outright say Batman is Bruce Wayne.
Absolutely.
But I have to give my applause to Matt Reeves, but specifically to Paul Dano in the interpretation of these lines, because again, he doesn't say you're Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
But what he does instead is he goes, Bruce Wayne. And then he segues. I can't remember exactly how he says it, but he segues so that if anyone was listening, wouldn't put two and two together,
right? And
be like, "Oh, I didn't say he was that." Because again, he idolizes Batman. He doesn't want Batman to stop being Batman. He doesn't want Bruce to stop being Batman. And if Bruce is revealed as Batman, the cops would take him in and they would arrest Bruce Wayne, which he doesn't want to have happen.
Absolutely not.
So Riddler is smart, and he deflects and goes away so that for any prying ears, they would go, oh, never mind. He was just talking about how Bruce Wayne was, I think, traumatized or whatnot. I can't remember exactly how he segues away from it, but brilliant writing and brilliant acting and brilliant direction in that moment.
If I may, Zach, while you collect your thoughts, because I know you're getting excited, there's also that scene where in this interrogation, Edward begs Batman for them to collaborate, that he wants to help him. He wants to rid the city of Gotham scum. Yeah. And there is Batman saying no, and not just straight up no. I mean, he gets very forceful in his no, and almost by dog. I mean, there's a screen protecting Riddler, and he could have gotten very violent, very violent. And then Edward's like he panics, he panics, and that's a little bit of like a letdown, because to me, Edward, even though the Riddler's a bitch, it's not like a whiny one. Yeah. It's like, not like I lost. No, I lost. Like, I'm not getting what I want. I'm not getting what I want. Yeah. It's a letdown, and Batman is like, you're scum. You're scum. You're scum. And then it goes to, we were going to watch something together, and just the shock. And that's when everybody knows, like, something else is going on. Yeah. What is going on? And then that's when Batman gets violent. He's like, what have you done? He starts punching and punching and punching. Tell me, what is going on? What have you done? And Edward's like, what's black? You don't know. And then this Riddler, what's black and blue and dead all over? You. And he ends that and starts singing this Ave Maria scene. Yeah. And it's just, it is on par with the Christian Bale Heath Ledger scene. I know you're going to disagree, but when I was watching that scene, I thought of that scene. Yeah, and I definitely did too. I feel like Matt Reeves was definitely trying to parallel that scene. I think it's on par. I think not better, on par. I think it's a good scene until the end. I will agree, yes. Because, well, take that back. There are moments
in the end that I do like. Again, this is the thing. I enjoy it all. I enjoy this movie all the way until the end, where it starts. Its phrase and cracks start to show a lot more near the end of the movie, and this Riddler interrogation scene is one of them, because it starts out phenomenally. But the freak out, again, I will both defend it and also say that it was also not the right choice, because I will defend it because it makes Batman realize, oh, right. It makes Batman and the audience realize, oh, right. He's insane.
Right.
He's not well.
Yeah, because he says that you're sick.
Yeah, he's sick. He genuinely is. It allows you as the audience and for Batman to step back and go, right, this is not a sane person.
Right.
However, for the Riddler, it's okay for the Riddler to freak out when things aren't going his way. But it should be it's not that kind of frustrated that was portrayed.
Right.
I understand where Paul Dano tried to go with it. I feel like it was maybe he might have been maybe somewhere on the spectrum of autism, kind of like because you could see he was stimming, and you could see that he was doing things. And I'll give credit where credit's due on that, because we rarely see mental illness such as autism portrayed, but at the same time, it just didn't. It didn't fall right. So I just don't think that one was the right choice, and it should have been a more, no, this isn't what Batman should do. This is not how I planned it. This is more of a, no, why are you not following me kind of frustrated.
Right.
Not a, what did I do? Did I do something wrong? Frustrated, which is kind of how it got played off as. Like a, no, this is, it was not right. And then the place where it falls wrong for me, between where the Joker scene in Dark Knight is above this interrogation scene performed in the Batman. Yes, at the end of the day, the Riddler isn't victorious, but he does accomplish his task. However, it's played by the Riddler in that scene specifically. He distances himself after that kind of freak out in a way, and he kind of like steps away from. He like distances himself away from the situation by singing his Ave Maria and going through all that.
Right.
Whereas opposed to Joker, I love the idea that Joker revels in Batman's powerlessness in The Dark Knight. Where Riddler, where it kind of fell flat for me, I feel like the Riddler would have also done the same thing. He would have, because again, while this incarnation of the Riddler is not one that wants to be better than the Batman, I still feel like the Riddler would celebrate this moment of, oh, I bested you?
You don't know that?
You don't know that? Oh, I got you.
Right.
I got you. Like, I feel like the Riddler would still revel in that.
Right.
But he really didn't. And that just is where I feel like the Joker scene becomes better, is because it captures the Joker in that moment where I feel like they failed to finally grasp the Joker at that moment. So that's where I feel like those two kind of differ. But
we've got two more things.
We got two more things, because speaking of the Riddler, so Riddler does actually win here. He actually does allow the flood to happen, and he literally washes away Gotham, like the cleansing flood of Noah.
It's
biblical.
It is, and Also, it just...
But
the whole time during this chaos, he wants the mayor, the now elected mayor of Gotham, to be killed.
Yeah.
To literally cause real change. Because that was what her
platform was.
Was real change. And it's just...
And he, to be honest, I feel like this is like a little bit of like politics, like Matt Reeves like getting into politics of it.
A little
but
political.
I like it too because...
Well, also it shows his social media platform too. People are watching. It's kind of like, dare I say, a kind of a Proud Boy moment.
Almost, yeah. Because it's the entire point of the Riddler here for this exact thing is that he wanted her to get elected because she was saying how she was going to bring about change in Gotham.
Right.
But his point is that the people who say that they'll bring change never do.
Right.
They never bring it. So the only way to bring change is to destroy said change.
Or the people take control.
Yeah, so he tries to flood everybody all into the center.
And that's
through a flood,
and that is
literal flood,
and that is Gotham City Square Garden, or like or Gotham Square Garden, something like that. I think that's what
basically
it's called.
the Times Square of Gotham,
or Madison Square Garden of Gotham. Yeah.
And that is just happens where the victory speech is being held.
Yeah.
And
there are shooters.
There are shooters. So this is where, for me, this film did take an actual wrong turn. Like a genuine... I feel like this is Matt Reeves's I want to end on a bigger bang and just raise the stakes a whole bunch more so that we can end on a big note. While I like that we are having Bruce Wayne fail to save Gotham because it got flooded, there's no way of saving it.
I did love
at that point.
Before you continue,
Yeah.
I did love when Batman shows up and he jumps down. I love that was a perfect scene because everybody wants to see Batman jump down through glass.
Oh, absolutely.
And you see it, and it is glorious.
Yeah,
I love that. High five, Zach. High five. Yes.
But, the thing is that it just introduced so many things that weren't, I guess, like hinted at or played off at the beginning. Because we never at one point were told that these walls are keeping Gotham like out of the water.
Yeah.
So we didn't know that this was even a possibility until it already happened.
It just happened. Which normally I would be okay with as long as you at least set up something to bring it. And then another thing is, I really was not a fan of the Riddler henchman. Yeah, that was dumb.
Because, we're going the Proud Boy aspect, I feel, for it, but it was never hinted at that Riddler was working with people.
No.
It felt like a lone man on a glorified mission to heal the wrongs of the world.
He did go live on social media once.
But I feel like that was just his way of like being like, haha.
Well, I thought that too, yeah.
This is how I'm getting my information and I'm getting my kicks out.
Right.
And allowing so that Batman can see what I'm doing and that he can't do anything about it.
Right. So go ahead and finish.
Yep.
And then, no, you finish yours, and then I want to talk about this one moment. Okay?
Sure. Absolutely. So I wasn't a fan of all these people just coming in randomly because the Joker was I feel like the flood itself could have been a good ending.
Yeah.
Like if it was just the flood and then it just went. and maybe him trying to save the mayor-elect, because the water's rushing, and it's going down to their Madison Square Garden, and maybe they don't even know about it just yet, so he's got to rush, and it's a race against the clock kind of a thing.
Yeah,
that would have been fun.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole fight sequence above the top, it was great to see Batman continue to fight, but at that point it just felt labored or forced. It just felt like a fight scene because he felt like it needed to be a fight scene, and it just didn't make sense to me. So I wasn't a fan of that.
I love the fight scene, but I could also agree with you there. It could have been a little cut out, but one moment that just was the most beautiful scene of the movie was when Batman that electric bit of the TV screens.
Yep.
This is where you finally see glimpses of Batman being a hero.
Yeah.
He jumps. It's there's electricity. He cuts it in half. That way the electric current goes away. He falls into the water. He gets up. You feel this panic in that garden. He lights a flare. And that's where you see him become something bigger, something better. You start to see hope. Yeah. And he goes to help these panicking civilians that are trapped in this water, and he offers a hand to help. Mm-hmm. Everybody's afraid. Everybody is terrified. Like, it's Batman. Like, we're afraid. Somebody reaches out, and it's the son of the mayor that you see basically saying, it's basically a glimpse of society of, we can trust Batman to save us. And you see this last scene, and it's so beautiful. It could bring a tear to people's eyes. Yeah. It is so beautiful. Mm-hmm. You see Batman with the flare walking, and you see hundreds of people following Batman. And that segues into the next morning where Bruce is monologuing again. Yep. Basically saying, I don't need to go. I need to continue this crusade, but I need to be bigger. I need to be better. I need to be the hope that Gotham needs. And you see Bruce carrying a kid that is hurt badly, and he places him, and he grabs him. Basically, because he's afraid. He thinks he's going to die. Mm-hmm. But Bruce, or Batman, reassures him, I am here now. I'm here now. I will be better. I will be the hope that you need. I will be the hero that you need. And as the kid is lifted into the helicopter, there's another shot, a beautiful shot of Batman just looking up in the sky. Yeah. Basically, and then that moment, you see that I need to be hope. Yeah. And it is so beautiful. And
You're
that's
making me cry, man.
I know. Well, and that's why I have to just say that this movie is such a beautiful, flawed masterpiece.
Yeah, and it genuinely it's so good. It just the ending. It's they do such a great job. If they just would have taken away the Riddler henchman, it would have been perfect, man.
And now to end it.
So the biggest spoiler of all.
Oh my god.
Which okay. I've never thought I would ever say.
The Joker's in it.
And
it's crap.
It's absolute crap.
I mean, good idea.
It would have been so. I feel like what they're trying to do with this scene is kind of have the Joker be like the Thanos of this situation, and be like, he's going to be the big bad of number 3. Like, know, I feel like what they're building towards is that the third Batman is basically going to be Batman Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, it's so weak.
But the thing is, not only did we really just see the Joker silhouette, because here's the thing. When we were in the theater, you start to see the Joker, and he says that he's a clown. I was like, oh, of course, it's Joker. Mm-hmm. But then you kind of, he gets a little closer, and a little bit of light hits. Mm-hmm. And for a second, I was like, oh, Two-Face, maybe not Joker, because
Right.
there was like some like it looked like there was like
Scarring.
a little bit like scarring and deformity on one side. So I was like, okay, maybe they were trying to kind of fake us out a little bit on that, but then no, it's 100% Joker.
And it was so lame.
And the thing was, the cameo was forced.
Yeah.
The scene did not need to be in there.
No.
Because the interrogation scene would have been a perfect ending for the Riddler.
I agree.
But then we get this really... So, the stimming and whatnot, like, I can defend from that interrogation scene. I can somewhat defend and give, like, a pass to that scene in terms of that, even though it wasn't the Riddler I was expecting or wanting to, is still in the vein of that Riddler. Mm-hmm. But the Riddler that we see in Arkham is just whiny and is nothing like the Riddler that we saw, and it was a step backwards for that character.
Yeah.
I do like that the Riddler, that the Joker inspires Riddler,
Right.
and is now the new inspiration, is now Riddler's like new inspiration,
Like a comeback story.
yeah,
What he said. Yeah.
and I loved that in terms of concept, but again, it just didn't play well. And then the laugh.
It was so stupid.
The laugh is... I wish these words wouldn't come out of my mouth. Jared Leto's laugh was better.
Oh, yeah.
And Jared Leto's laugh is terrible. It is the worst Joker laugh ever.
I
This
feel like
laugh is nothing. It makes it look like a saint.
I feel like it literally felt like a high school or 7th or 8th grade kid that hadn't hit puberty yet tried to replicate Heath Ledger's Joker.
Yeah.
And it just didn't play well. And I can't talk about this anymore. Do you want to talk about it anymore, Zach?
No. And we hate to end it on such a negative note, but
it's the ending.
as Mitch said, it has the potential to be a flawed masterpiece.
It's a flawed masterpiece.
I know he will say it's a flawed masterpiece. I will say it has the potential to great things. I believe it's the start of a pocket universe that could grow into something beautiful. You hit me, but at the same time, it's... I am very intrigued and interested in where this world is going to go, where this Batman is going to go. I just hope we take some learning experiences from this. Mm-hmm. It sees its mistakes. It realizes mistakes.
They will.
And then they will move forward and be better for it.
Mm-hmm. But until that time,
I'm Zach.
I'm Mitch.
And we are
an excellent little podcast.